It's real hard when you have a lot of kids. It's hard when you have a small amount of kids too. You guys, I have 8 kids. There's a lot of things that people do not tell you or warn you about with parenting. From like all the ER visits and allergy scares, and there was actually a moment that I thought I was going to lose a kid. You just have to learn to ride the wave and get through it. I remember like one of the most traumatic stories that I have. My almost 2-year-old was a choker. He did everything very, very quickly, and he'd chew quickly. He wouldn't chew it all up. And there were many times that I actually had to help him unlodge something that was in his throat. I know that they teach you to flip the baby over and hit them on their back and things like that. And oddly, that never worked for him. And so I learned a technique where I would grab him and I would swing him around real fast and I would bang his belly on my knee. And it would always work. It would get it out. But there was this one evening where all my kids were eating at the table and he was like spitting at a kid. And so I went up to him, and this is the hard part for me because this is where I blamed myself for years. And I kind of put my finger on his mouth and I said, you don't spit on people. You don't use your mouth for that purpose. And he instantly started crying. In that process, he inhaled this carrot. It was a baby carrot and he had not chewed it yet. So he inhaled it, and what happened is it went all the way down and teed off both of his lung holes. And the second he started crying, when he went to breathe in to cry again, it was this sound. And I will never ever forget this. I knew instantly that we had a problem. I knew instantly that nothing I was going to do was going to work. However, I still did my attempts to unlodge it. I went into sheer panic, and my mom was there, and I'm looking at him and he has this real deer in a headlight look on his face. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay. And I knew that sound meant that he was still getting some air, a very little amount, but I knew it. And I handed him to my mom and I called 911. And granted, I have 2 other kids at the time that were older than him that were witnessing all of this. I am panicking, and I didn't even have a moment to go to them. I just said, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna figure this out, and I left them there. As I'm calling 911, there are moments that I didn't even remember getting from point A to point B, but I do remember how I felt like every single atom of my being was going to crash onto the floor, like I couldn't handle it. And looking at him, it was so very hard to look at him and be around him, which as a mother, we're here to nurture, we're here to all these things. And I relied on my mother to take him and keep him calm while I managed the 911 call and the emergency teams coming to our house. This is taking minutes, like minutes that feel like hours. I keep going and revisiting him and looking him in the eyes. It's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And at this point, like his lips are turning blue. He's still awake, he's not crying, he's just silent, and he just looks so frightened. That image of his frightened face was burned into my mind and into my mom's mind for quite some time. So anyways, long story short, there's a lot of details in between, but I walk outside and I'm waiting for the ambulance and all the different teams to get there. And I'm on the phone with 911 and I'm freaking out, and I'm walking up and down the street just like waiting. And I don't remember getting down to the end of the street. I don't remember getting back to my house, but I did. And I'm on the phone with the ambulance. With the 911. I hear the sirens come and it gives me a tiny bit of release. Like they're here, they're almost here. But then they shut their sirens off, and I'm like, where are they? What are they doing? And she said they usually turn their sirens off once they get in the neighborhood, and up rolls up a police officer. He was the first one to get there. And so we bring Maxton outside, and the police officer has him, and they're like, Tara, don't get off the phone with us. Stay with us until all the ambulance teams get there. And the cop takes him and he starts hitting him on the back, just like they always teach you. And the 911 said, because she heard his wheezing, she heard the squeaking sound that was coming from him. She said, whatever you do not pound on his back. And I was like, but that's what the cop is doing. And I'm like 3 houses down because again, I'm panicking. I'm like just trying to control myself, yelling like, stop pounding on his back. And she said the reason being is that when it tees off the lung like that, if you're pounding like this, it can jostle it and close up that last bit of air. So then they literally can't get any air at all. So we're just trying to maintain calmness and things like that. When I walk back over to them, Maxton is blue from head to toe, but he's still awake and he's still deer in a headlights look. And then the fire trucks come. They get there next. The fire trucks come out and I'm witnessing them take him, lay him on the street. Granted, good thing it was wasn't midsummer, but they lay him on the street and they come out with this tongs that are like this long and they just go right down his whole throat. And they try to get this carrot out because we had told them the story. They knew what it was. And they knew it was an item that they could go out and pick out. I see them pick him up, put him back down, try again. They do a different mechanism. They try something else and they're unable to get it out. And then the ambulance shows up. And so then they take hold of him and they start all of these different things. And mind you, like I think I blocked out some of what was happening. He is so blue from head to toe, but still awake. It still blows my mind. It's like burned in my mind. Sad story is that the ambulance couldn't get it out either. They just couldn't. And they're like, oh, we're sorry, we can't get it out. And I'm like, everyone is here. All of our rescue teams are here. What are we going to do next? Who's going to get it out? And they said, we have to take him to the hospital. And so they're like, get in the ambulance. I had no shoes on. I literally just got in the ambulance and we're riding to the hospital, which is only like 3 minutes away, I think, maybe 4. And I turn around, I look through the little window that sees into the back where they're working on him, and he literally goes limp. And I said, sorry. It's so traumatic. I said, did he just die? Did he just die? And they said, no, Tara, he just passed out and we're going to continue getting air into his lungs. And I'm watching them pump life into my son and they're pumping the airbag over his face. It is a feeling that like, it is indescribable, like something that you could never, ever in your life be prepared for. And I'm a roll with the punches. I can handle a lot of beef kind of situation, like person. And I couldn't handle this. Like I was shaking, like my hands were shaking, my feet were shaking, my legs were shaking, and every time I would talk, my jaw was chattering. So anyways, we get to the hospital, and this is a brand new Banner Ironwood. They had just opened up. I actually have pictures, and you'll see it in here, of him laying on the table, and the rescue teams are there, and he's just limp, and they're pumping air into him. And to watch a human being pump life into your child, I am forever grateful for that. And it is just something that the value, the appreciation and all the things, like it really hit me hard. So anyway, so they're doing all of these things and they start pumping his chest like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Like they won't let me in that room, but I'm close enough that I can see everything that's going on. And eventually my dad got there and he said, you need to come away from there. They don't want you to sit there and watch what's going on, because I was in sheer panic. It was a lot. And I was actually pregnant at the time. And so they were worried about the amount of stress that I was under and things like that. So they pulled me away into a different room. And granted, I had a wedding to shoot that day or the next day. I can't remember which one. Oh, it was the next day. Anyways, going back into that hospital room, and they're doing all of these things, and they come out and they say, Tara, we do not have pediatric equipment and we have to air vac him somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, do whatever you have to do. And they're like, well, you have to drive yourself there. There's not enough room for any other adults other than the rescue team in there with him. Scary moment. Like, you're going to take my son in a helicopter without me? Like, oh my goodness. So they're like, you have to drive there and we'll get him there in the helicopter. So of course a helicopter is faster, but we get to the hospital, which is about 45 minutes away, and we go in the ER room and we're like, hey, my son is being air vac'd here, or has been air vac'd here. And they're like, we don't know who you're talking about. We don't have that situation here. And I'm like, and so they're like frantically looking to call around and figure out who, what, where, and whatever. And about 20 minutes later, with still no answers, where's my son? Where is my son? They land and we see them pushing him out there. And at the same time, they're still pumping air into him. Gosh, it's such a hard moment for me. They're still pumping air into him and they're wheeling him in the hospital. And they said what happened was, when they got up in the air, those the adult equipment, the tube that they had down his throat hit the bottom of his lungs, and everything kind of went crazy, and they had to land the helicopter back at the original hospital and reset up all of the gear to keep him alive, and then get back in and fly. So, but no one informed us of this. So I was like, where is my son? What is happening? Long story short, they need to take him into surgery. They did an x-ray. They saw the carrot in there. They said the surgery ends up taking about an hour and a half. So hang in there, all these things. It took 3 hours and we were like so stressed out. We didn't get any real updates that they're just still trying to find this carrot and whatever. This is the crazy part, is that they had it on an x-ray at hospital 1, but when they went into the surgery in hospital 2, it was nowhere to be found. Nowhere. And in this case, it's like, I don't know if this is a miracle, if God had his hand in this. They were trying to make sense of it, saying that maybe when they were doing chest compressions that it popped it out and he swallowed it. Granted, they should have done an x-ray of his stomach to make sure, I don't know. But they spent 3 hours looking in there, making sure there was nothing in there. But it was very traumatic for him with all of the rescue team shoving stuff down his throat into his lung area, and then all of the stuff that they had to do during surgery, that they came out and they said, well, the carrot is out, he is alive, but we need to keep him sedated for a couple of days because the trauma that his body went through, that he needs the rest to heal into all of these things. And this little turd, I'm telling you, he's my one that's like balls to the wall on everything, and he's very similar to me. Like his body just kind of resists all the things. They couldn't keep him sedated. They said they gave him enough sedation to put him into a coma and to put a horse down and all these things. And this kid is waking up every 2 hours, just going to rip out all of the stuff, the tubing, because he was intubated, like all of the things, which is also another vision that I can't get out of my head. But they kept putting him back into like a coma almost, and he would just wake up out of it, and they'd put him back in and put him back in. And they're like, we've never had this happen with a child. I'm like, yeah, he's my kid. Like, this is his MO. So he had to be in the hospital for 3 days. And I will never forget that all of the doctors and surgeons and everybody recommended that first day that he was in that hospital, that I go and shoot that wedding. And that was extremely hard for me. But again, being pregnant, they wanted me to immerse myself with something that I could do mindlessly, and that I could get my head out of that game and be over here. And it was such an amazing thing to do. I got to be there with my clients, and they were my friends, and it took my brain out of it enough that the stress level could go down to like a baseline that was safe for the baby in my belly and like all these things. But there is nothing like witnessing your child in these situations. And then when he woke up for good, when they weren't going to sedate him anymore, and going through like him eating for the first time, nobody prepares you for the trauma that feels, for the trauma that brings to your body and your mind. And for months and months after that, if I heard a helicopter, an ambulance, or anything without even a thought, tears would pour out of my face. I had nightmares of his face when he was turning blue. My mom said the same thing happened to her. And you go through these traumatic experiences, and the thing is, if you stuff it, it's going to be very hard for you to process, and it's going to come up in other traumatic situations. And so I highly recommend that when you go through these really tough situations, that you make sure that you grieve, you talk about it, you process those feelings, because then you can continue on as a better parent. But yeah, like I said, it took months where I would have this PTSD responses to sounds and things like that. And even to this day, when I hear a child make a weird sound when they're eating, instantly it's like my spidey sense comes on, and I'm like, what, are they okay? And I like literally pause and stare, because I think, what action do I need to take, and how fast do I need to take it? And since then, we have gotten like that the LifeVac. It's the mechanism where you can put it over to the face, and it's like a vacuum that you use to help suck out anything that could have gone down their throat and they've choked on it or whatever. There's LifeVac, and there's another one that you can get, and we have those in our cabinets, and we show our kids where they are in case they need to use them and things like that. The funny story here is that this same kid, when he was about 8 years later, he was with my little young ones, and he was saying like, hey, you guys want to be careful not to choke, and you don't want to do certain things. And he was like, he did something, and this is kids, where he held this cross necklace over his mouth, and he's like, you don't want to this. I don't even know what he said. I still to this day, I'm like, what the hell? And he did this, and he accidentally dropped it, and he began to choke. And I guess he was outside panicking with the kids, and like, again, it's a cross, so there's air able to get through, but it was definitely lodged in his throat. And so one of my other kids comes in running and says, Mom, Maxon's choking on a thing. And I'm like, what is this? What is happening? How or whatever? And he comes in, he's looking at me, and he's like whatever. And I said, okay, you have, and this is reasoning. This is things that I learned over that 8 years, that like, if we can stay calm in the moment and stay true to the facts, like what are the facts here? And the fact is that he has something lodged in his throat that the air can get past. So if we just stay calm and keep breathing, you're going to stay alive. So I said, okay, logically, you know that you're not going to pass out. You know that you're getting air. We just have to figure out how to get this out of your throat. And so I said, at this point, like, I couldn't see it. And he had tried to shove his hand down his throat so much that he tore his mouth. And this was prior to him coming to me. I'm like, you should have come to me sooner. I kept telling him, just keep swallowing, just keep swallowing, just keep swallowing. And we got to do whatever we can to get your muscles to like work its way down. Long story short, we were able to work it down. It went down into his gut. And his consequence was that every day, so he was homeschooled at the time, by a friend who was a teacher. And she decided that she would homeschool all of my kids for me and her kids. And he had to take our camping toilet, which is a bucket and a little seat, and some gloves. And I said, you will never forget this. And when you go poop at her house, you're going to have to dig through your poop and find that cross until you find it, because we need to know that it comes out. Otherwise, we have to go and you got to have surgery and like all this stuff. And so we didn't want that to happen. But I made it his responsibility to find it. And lo and behold, the day that he found it, he was so proud of himself. And, you know, you can put a lot on your kids. Like, they can be very responsible for themselves in a lot of manners, and kids are very easy to teach, and they want responsibilities. And I gave him that responsibility, and he will never forget, and he will never, ever put something over his throat. And no, he just won't. He won't. So wow, that was a very long story about one of our very, very traumatic experiences. He is also anaphylactic to eggs, and we experienced something very scary there. And again, what you need to do is you need to stay calm and logically think about the facts and just get to the resolution as soon as you can. And if it seems like it's something that is too scary for you to fix, if it's something that you think that you can't fix, you definitely want, this is what they told me, you definitely want to call 911 over going directly to the ER, because you get emergency service help faster than if you go to the ER, have to sign in, wait for somebody to come help them. So you call 911 when you are in these catastrophic crises, you know what I'm saying, because you get faster help. There's just so many things. I mean, we've also been through, our kids have been in situations where they were being kids. What I have taught my kids, and I have created a space for them to feel like they can come to me, they can be honest with me, and that honesty is the best avenue. And that when there is trouble or trouble that was had, or any situation that they're unaware of what to do, to come to me first. And in those moments when they're talking to you about these serious things, and you're like, and you're inside, you're like, oh my gosh, oh, holy shit, like what is happening? Stay calm, look them in the eyes, and just be that baseline for them. Be that place that like, if I'm freaking out and I'm yelling and doing all these things, they're going to be less apt to come to me in these moments. Like, what I recommend when you become a parent is spend some time making choices now on how you're going to react when something catastrophic happens, how you're going to act when your kid comes to you with a problem that may jeopardize their future, or when they come to you with a mistake that they have made, or when they come to you and they ask you about sex, or just real hard questions. If you can like prepare yourself, I mean, again, sometimes you're never can truly prepare yourself for that stuff. But if you take a moment in the beginning to think how I'm going to, you're a little bit more prepared when those moments come up. And thank the Lord that He has provided me with a calmness that happens when things happen. When my kids come to me with major things, like for instance, I have a kid who is super into cars and drifting and racing and all of these things. And anytime he sees rain, that light bulb clicks on that it's drifting time, and he likes to go into parking lots and things like that. And there was a time that he asked to spend the night at a neighbor's house, and it was with a couple of other friends, and granted they're 16, and it was raining that night. I'll tell you the story from my perspective. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and he comes in the room and he sits down, and I'm like, weird, you're supposed to be spending the night at the neighbor's house. And he said, I just want you to first know that nobody is hurt, but I have to tell you that we snuck out of so-and-so's house. We totally dodged the cameras and jumped walls and things like that so that we wouldn't get in trouble. And we took so-and-so's car, which is owned by his parents, and it's a newer car. Everything is automatic. And they took it a mile away or so to a parking lot, started drifting. And because Travis is this expert in cars and things like that, they let him drive the car that is not his. And because it's all automatic and he's used to manual and doing all the popping of the clutch and e-brakes and things like that, he went to do a donut in this car, and all the automatic stuff locked up. And he crashed that car. He broke the wheel off the whatever it's called, but he broke it, and it was not drivable. And he said the very first thing that he did, and this is that he is a very honest kid, has a lot of integrity in that area, and he really values that he has a personality that is very honest, and he maintains that honesty. And so first he went to his friend's house and told the parents of his friends the situation, and then he came directly to us and told us the whole story and things like that. And the reason he was able to do that is because I've created a space for him to be honest. I don't lose my marbles on him when he is very honest about very, very hard things. I always tell my kids, if you come to me with the hardest of things and tell me the truth, you will find that I am far less mad than if you lie about it, if you twist the story around. And the ones that have followed through with being completely honest have been quite the example for the other kids. Like, look what just happened. How is mom and dad going to react? And then they watch us methodically and calmly discuss this with them. And there's consequences to those actions. And I told him, I said, unfortunately, you have proven that you can't spend the night at friends' houses. So that is off the table forever. Forever. Like, we're just not going to test the waters anymore. And you can have late nights, you can be home by your curfew, but we're not doing sleepovers anymore. And he completely understood. He's never asked me again. And he respects that fact. I did not do any yelling. I thanked him for being honest. I thanked him for telling the whole story to me and going directly to the parents of his friend, because that takes, man. And I value that, and I want to appreciate that, and again create that space that when he's ever in trouble, whenever he makes a mistake or has some serious life questions, that he knows he can come to me, and I'm going to be a base. I'm going to be a foundation for him to learn and to know what to do next. I really do love that. And I don't know, I believe it was something that the Lord gave me, because I got 8 kids and we're about to ride that pony. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to go to the circus and we're never leaving. We had another real scary situation happen with one of my kids. I know that I've told so many stories, so I'm not going to go down and keep telling you all of these stories, but we had a situation where, in my opinion, it could have easily been an opportunity for one of my kids to be trafficked. I know I have a friend that actually is very involved in that community where they save children that have been trafficked, so I've heard all the stories. This kid of mine has my heart, and somebody claimed that they needed help, and the story that they told was crazy. They said their parents zip-tied their hands and legs and put them in a closet, and that you can't call the police because the police said what they're doing is legal. Red flag number 1. And this story is crazy. It really is crazy, but I'm thinking, do I tell the whole story or not? I think I'm not going to, but it is crazy. And everything ended up being fine. We got the police involved. Hours and hours of this went by where he was trying to handle this girl himself. He didn't tell me the whole story at first. And there were several things that happened, and my fear boiled and came up. And I, at one point, to my embarrassment, was yelling and just, it was not good. And I will tell you that he immediately shut down. He didn't want to tell me any more of the story. He didn't feel safe in that area. I quickly left the room, took a minute, and I really had to process all the things that was going on. I had so much fear because he felt like he was invincible. He gave me all these excuses that he could fight a bear and that he had his pocket knife on. And I'm like telling him, when people are ready to kidnap a kid, they're more ready than you are. And I'm like, they could chloroform you in a matter of seconds, like you have no idea. And the fact that he felt so invincible scared me, because this is my kid who feels invincible. And I thought, if you feel that invincible, like anything could happen to you and you're not going to be ready and you think that you are. And I just thought about all future instances, and I lost my marbles. Like, I lost it. So I could tell from that point forward that he had this fear in him to continue telling me the details of the story. So I just stopped it all. I gave myself some time and then went back to him, and I looked him in the eye and very genuinely told him, I am extremely sorry for the way that I came at you. I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry that I was so reactive. I said, I want you to know that I am a place for you. If you could just erase my reactions, but you can't, and they remember, and it creates a trauma response in them. So I've been spending time trying to rebuild that so that I can be a place where he can come and be honest. And we got to talk it out. And I said, let's start over. Tell me the story, like something crazy just happened. You need me to know all the details and things like that. And so we worked it all out. But I will tell you that when you lose your marble and you feel it's happening, you feel it's coming, there is no good that is going to come out of you losing your marbles. There's no good coming out of you screaming at them, cussing at them, whatever it is that you may do. You're actually causing more harm and creating a space for them to not feel safe to come to. So what I highly recommend when your kid has something catastrophic that is happening that can allow for a moment of distance, can allow for a moment of silence and things like that, where they're coming to you with a story that had already happened or a mistake that they'd already made or something like that. Go take a minute, take a couple of hours if you have to, because you want to be their safe place. You want to be a place that they feel comfortable coming to. You could ruin it if you react in that way. But if you do react in that way, you are normal. And you want to just go back and make sure that you apologize and rectify your actions. Like still letting them know that, hey, what you did was wrong and you know that and I know that. And we don't need to keep going down that rabbit hole. That I am here for you and I'm human and I reacted the wrong way. I want you to know that I love you and I want to be this safe place. It's real hard when you have a lot of kids. It's hard when you have a small amount of kids too, because what your max is your max, and what my max is my max. But having 8 kids and trying to manage all of their emotions and all of their needs and all of their things without losing yourself is quite a thing. Let me tell you something. We're all parenting for our first time ever. When I had my first kid, I was parenting as a person that had never had a kid before. When I had my second kid, I am first time parenting two kids. I've never parented 2 kids before, so this is new. And every kid that was added, I'm a different parent. I'm a new parent in that situation. So now I'm parenting 8 kids, and that's a new situation. So don't ever be too hard on yourself that you don't know how to do it, that it's too hard for you, that it's too much for you, all of these things, because this is the first time you're going down this road. Every change, every new kid is a new road. It's different because now you're a parent to 3 kids, and your first kid got a different version of you than this kid, and this kid got a different version of you than this kid did, and it's different and changes down the line. Because I just want to say that you're never going to figure it away. Sorry. My suggestion is to learn to ride the roller coaster, being the best version of you that you can be, because everything is new. Every day is new. And each child that you have, you can't parent them the same. They all have their different personalities, the way that they respond to things. And like I have a kid that will respond really well when I'm very stern. And then I have another kid that would cry their eyes out with any ounce of sternness at all. And so you have to learn to adapt. And like I said, you got to roll. You have to learn to just roll with it and try to maintain the best version of yourself along the way, and really listen to your gut. The Lord gives you gut instincts for a reason. No one outside of your family knows better for your family than you know for your family. So trust what you believe is best for you guys. And of course, if you go out and you get advice from somebody, you can take it with a grain of salt. You can figure out how you want to integrate that into your little family. Just don't be too hard on yourself. I get asked a lot, how do you do it? And my answer is always, I don't know. I don't know how I do it. You get to a certain point where you really do just learn to trust who you are, trust the love that you have for your family, and you just make the best decisions and you roll with it. And sometimes that decision, you learn very quickly that may not have been the best decision. And this is where you learn. You learn in the failures, you learn in the hard times, you learn what you definitely won't do again, and you learn what you might want to try the next time. And it's trial and error, trial and error, and trial and error. There is no book that instructs you on exactly what to do. And there couldn't be, because every human is completely different. Every human on the face of the planet is completely different. So you navigate each person differently, and they can handle each situation differently. So you just have to give yourself grace, and learn in the hard stuff what you definitely don't want to do and what you might want to try next time. I just don't want you to be out there stressing that you don't know how to do it. You're not giving yourself permission to not be perfect when shit gets like, seriously. Because when we start being hard on ourselves and our parenting starts to fall by the wayside, like we start parenting from a hurt place, start parenting mental place, and then you're not loving your kids or your husband or whoever in the way that you could if you weren't judging the whole time. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope that it does. Like I said, you want to take those really tough moments, and if you don't know what to do in the moment, it is absolutely okay for you to say, hey, I need to take some time and I will revisit this. It might be in an hour, it might be at the end of the day, and it might be tomorrow. Give yourself the room to analyze and adjust your thoughts and come up with a plan for yourself. Give yourself the space to be a safe place for your kids. And the only way to do that is to have a tool for when you're in the moments. How do you step out for a minute to gather yourself and come in like a parent with integrity, a parent that isn't going to lose their shit on their kid with this conversation that we're about to have, or with this mistake that they made, or something like that, or like even the sex talk. Like that's another huge thing. Like when your kids come to you, I don't believe that the sex talk is a one and done type of a situation. I believe that you give them the details. I had kids that asked very, very, very specific questions on the sex talk, and I thought, I'm not going to make this weird. I'm going to just answer their questions with ease. And some of them were very gulp hard to answer, but I didn't want them to know that. I wanted them to know that I'm just an information portal for them, and I'm going to share with you so that you know, because I don't want my kids to learn the hard stuff from friends who don't even know the truth. I want them to mom or their dad. And so I have had the sex talk with all of my kids except for my 5-year-old. And it created a space to continue talking about it, because as they're at different ages, that sex talk or the sex, anything related to that is going to be different. And as they get into their teenage years, it's definitely going to be different. And so it's kind of an open-ended conversation. And I let them know that they're going to have different thoughts and things when they're older as a teenager. And then when they get married, this can be a topic, because, it's the unknown. You want to leave that open door for them to talk and have conversation with you about it, because it's going to help them get. I remember, this is one thing that was interesting, is that I watched Tyra Banks on Oprah once, which I don't usually watch Oprah, but it was a long time ago. And she said, I remember when I was 13, and my mom came in and had an additional sex talk and was telling me about, get ready for this, about blowjob. And she said at first it was kind of awkward, but she said my mom was telling me because I was about to embark on a time where someone may come up to me and ask me to do this. I may not know what that means, and out of maybe not just curiosity, but pressure and the unknowns, may wind up doing something like that because I don't know. I think she said she was a cheerleader and she was very involved with football and all of these things. And she said she did have a football player come at a party once or some behind, I don't know where it was. I don't remember that part. But asked her to do that to him. And she said instantly she remembered the conversation that she had with her mom, and she knew what it was, and she had made a decision with her mom that wasn't going to be something that she did, because her mom had the conversation with her, informed her what it was, and had her consciously make the decision in that moment when she's talking to her mom, that moment, that she wasn't going to do that. And so fast forward to when this boy was asking her to do that, she remembered that she had already made the decision what she was or wasn't going to do. And she told him no and could walk away and be proud of herself for somewhat being prepared for that moment. And so I think if we're going to really help our kids to get through life, we have to be an information hub and be aware of what happens at different times in their lives, so that we can prepare them for those possible moments. And I think it is a very wise thing to have these conversations with your kids at the appropriate time, and in that moment make a conscious decision What will you decide in that moment when somebody offers you drugs, when someone asks you to have sex with them, when someone asks you to sneak out at night, when someone asks you to drink with them? Like, there's just a whole endless list of things that can be done that they will be presented with, whether you think so or not. They will be. No matter how much you shelter them, there will be kids that come into their life that will do this. And I think it is so important to prepare your kids how to get through life in this world the way that it is, the right way. That's the ticket. We are all going to live in this world, how messy and chaotic and dirty and whatever, however it is, we are all going to live our life in this world. So why not teach our kids how to maneuver themselves in the best way possible through all of it? So that's why I think it's so important to create a safe place for your kids, teach them that honesty is the best policy. What keeps them out of trouble the most. Like, I even told my kids, like, hey, if you set someone's house on fire, I want you to come and tell me immediately. If you're in this situation, that situation, I want you to come and tell me immediately and give all of the honest truth, because I will help you in that situation probably better than anybody could, and we can navigate it together. But if you lie, oh, just kidding. If you lie, though, it creates a space where I'm not going to trust you anymore. There's going to be consequences for that. And so I'm always like, kids, be honest with me up front as much as you possibly can. Keep me in the know, and I can help you navigate. So be a place that's safe for your kids, and really put an effort in having conversations where you allow them to speak freely to you. And they may bring up stuff that you're like, holy shit, like, what am I gonna do here? And that's where you take your minute to really process how you want to, whatever, but let them speak freely. Don't cut them off. Let them speak about their feelings. And even if they're hard to hear, they're learning how to navigate themselves. They're learning how to be the person that they're going to be. And you want to ask them questions that trigger their brain to think forward, think how they want to react, think how they want to respond, think about other people's feelings. So you ask them probing questions. How do you feel about that? Or how did that make you feel? Or what do you think you could have done that would have made the situation better? You are teaching them how to navigate themselves, and it will be a skill that they use all the way through life. So again, I'm here to give you hope that life is messy and you can get through it. And if you make mistakes and if you rage on your kid, that you can reset that. You can go apologize and make it right. And you can teach them that you are a safe place, and you can teach them that you are human just like them, and how not to be hard on yourself. You can teach them how also not to be hard on yourself. Like, hey, I'm really, really sorry for how I act, but I'm not going to beat myself up over and over and over again, because that makes life hard too. And you don't want them to learn that same mentality and then be just as hard, if not harder, on themselves as they grow up and become an adult, and then they have to parent from that broken place too. And I believe there's a lot of healing to be had. That's a whole nother topic that I can't wait to talk to you guys about. But again, like I said, give yourself permission to not be perfect when shit gets real. Remember the tools that I gave you when you're in those moments that are really hard, because everyone around you, if you have other kids and you're freaking out and you're losing your mind, it's going to cause trauma in them as well. And you want to teach them how to navigate the hards. And I'm just here to give you hope that you're not alone. Life is hard. No one is perfect. And we all do things that we regret in our parenting and things like that. But you can forgive yourself. They can forgive you. And you can always regenerate. You can always redeem the situation and handle it the right way. There it is in a very long ass nutshell. But I really hope this helped some of you guys. I hope that it, just gives you some hope and inspiration to be your best in this journey of parenting. I hope you guys have an awesome day.